Welcome back to Bad Attitude Performance, home of the Bad Attitude C10. So, for those of y'all that are new, as the thumbnail shows, it kind of lets the cat out of the bag early, but I want to give y'all a little bit of background information about me. Back in 2009, I basically had a tragic accident in which a nitrous bottle exploded in my shop, and I ended up losing my left leg and had damage to my left arm, and I also basically blew out my right eardrum. And pretty much right off the bat, some of the people in the industry reached out to us to help us. And Drag Illustrated's representative from there named Van Abernathy reached out to me, and they did a little awareness article about me that was in Drag Illustrated. And after that, a lot of awareness came about and stuff. And one of the other people that worked with Drag Illustrated, named Will Mandel, who does stuff with the band, and they do a lot of donational work and stuff like that. And they were tied in with an organization called Limbs Across America. And we got paired up with them and went to Tennessee. And I actually got fitted with a prosthetic limb and was able to try to start to learn how to walk. But due to other conditions that came along with my accident, I was diagnosed with a condition called hidradenitis suppurativa, and that kind of sidelined me from ever being able to walk. And as of today, 16 years later, I'm still stuck in a wheelchair. The DI also did another article, and it was a Sportsman Spotlight series done by Scott Lucky Hudson. And, that pretty much brought a lot of awareness to what happened to me. So after realizing I wasn't going to be able to get in a prosthetic limb and walk, we were contacted by Trish and Chris Bureau of RPM Magazine, and we started doing a build of a third-gen Camaro to try to get me back into a race car. And after several years of trying to get the car together, the newness just kind of wore off and stuff, and that build just kind of went to the wayside. Well, so I kind of years go by, I kind of gave up on ever getting back in a car, and I sold everything I had race car related until my friend David Bassler, the owner of Nitrous Outlet, reached out to me and turned me on to events such as Rocky Mountain Race Week and stuff, which are called Dragon Drives. And that pretty much lit a fire under my ass and got me wanting to build another vehicle to participate in some form of racing, which leads me to the YouTube channel that you're viewing right now, that I dubbed the Bad Attitude C10 for the build of the truck, which is a 67 C10. So you can find out all you'd like to know about the build and where you are on my channel. But this video is not about the old, throwback hardships of where I've been and what I'm doing or what I'm trying to get done. It's actually started earlier this year when I transferred my primary care physician from the woman who had been dealing with me for years, and we had a span of being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and they loaded me up with medications and insulin and other medicine that just pretty much knocked my health in the dirt. And it was for over almost 13 years that I took that crap, and it just made me sicker and sicker. And it turns out I was never a type 2 diabetic, sorry. I actually had a condition known as insulin resistance. So with a change in my diet and structuring, I actually have been able to combat my A1C and keep it under tabs and be better than I ever was with all the medicine that I took for over a decade. So, it's pretty cool. And just remember, this story is going to continue about when it comes to your body and what's happening, you will always be your best advocate. So instead of sharing my ugly mug talking to y'all, I figured I'd show y'all the trip to where we're going right now. And that's going to bring me into explaining what has transpired this year since March of 2025. Alright guys, I need to backpedal just a little bit real quick to give y'all a tidbit. So in middle to end of 2024 and early 2025, both companies Fuel Lab and Brian Tooley Racing, which we will refer to as BTR, came on board and started, helping us out with the truck build. So Fuel Lab stepped up, and we had contact with them, and they provided us with a fuel pump and a regulator set up to be put on the Bad Attitude C10. And then BTR came on board with the new camshaft, the valve train upgrades and everything, and we'll be sporting a set of their valve covers. So this stuff transpired at the beginning of the year, and it led me to start going out in the shop and working more on the truck and stuff. And that's when I first noticed, the fatigue and stuff like that. And I'd already been battling the A1 issues A1C issues like I'd mentioned, and I transformed my eating habits to more of a high protein, low carb, and I was having some issues whenever I had to switch back over to eating the low carb, and I was having hunger pains and stuff, and that's when I spoke to my new primary care physician in February of 2025, and he introduced me to a medication called Manjaro, and he thought that Manjaro does have a basically an appetite suppressant to it, to where it helps with hunger pains and stuff, and it will also help manage blood sugars and even your blood pressure somewhat. And he thought it might be a good fit, so I actually started taking the Manjaro 2.5 in February of this year. And before that month was over, I went back in to see my primary care physician, and I told him, I said, "Hey, dude," I said, "there's some weird stuff going on. I'm having some pressure in my upper abdomen area, and my umbilical hernia is staying more stuck out. And if I just kind of push my hernia in, the pain subsides a little bit, and then it's like, And he goes, "Well, that's just a side effect of the medication. It slows your digestion down and everything like that, and we'll just keep an eye on it, but it's nothing to be concerned with." And so at that time, it was the beginning of March, and he went on ahead and bumped me up to the 5 milligram version of the shot, which is seen here. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. When they first moved me up to the 5 milligram, I had actually told several people that, as far as the suppression went, I thought the 2.5 worked just as good. But I will tell you, as far as the GI tract pains in my upper abdomen area and stuff, and my hernia staying stuck out and stuff more frequent, it became more of an issue, and it was very uncomfortable. So I called the doctor's office and I mentioned it to him, and so we figured, instead of bumping me up in the next month, that we'd stay on the 5 1 more month and see if I'd settle in. And guys, it got pretty bad, and I was sore all the time. And then all of a sudden, I started having to rock side to side on the toilet a lot to even be able to pass gas and poop. And I'm like, something's wrong here. So I told him that, when I first called him with the 5.0, I had these conditions a little bit, and now, midway through another month of it, it was getting even worse. And I'm like, dude, something's not right. And I was just told, I assure you, it's side effects of the medication, everything's fine. And the little bit of the bleeding that you have, we're just going to schedule an appointment. So I went on ahead and went in and saw him, and he's like, "Well, it sounds like you're suffering from a little bit of constipation from the medication, which is normal, and the bleeding, you probably have been forcing yourself to go to the bathroom, and you have a hemorrhoid." And I'm like, "Dude, but I'm not forcing myself to go to the bathroom, and I'm not compacted as far as my, poop goes." I said, "It's normal. I already take, stool softeners and stuff because of the other medications I'm on." And I'm like, uh, I don't think I'm constipated. I said, "It's more like there's something blocking the path or something." And he's like, "Well, it's just a side effect. You'll be fine." And he goes, "Now, you were going to bump you up to the 7.5 next month." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I just basically went home, and I was like, well, maybe it'll settle in. And at this time, I had friends that are on Manjaro, and I called them and told them, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, your stomach pains and going to the bathroom is going to be a lot different." And they're like, "But the rocking thing, we've never heard of." And I'm like, "Well, me neither." And so I was just like, okay, well, that weekend after seeing the doctor, he did prescribe a hydrocortisone 2.5%, I guess you call it, ointment, which I didn't understand because I told him the pain and everything that I'm having is internal, not external, but that's what he gave me. So I ended up in the emergency room, and I saw the doctor there, and I told him my same symptoms, and he said, "Dude, quit taking the Manjaro." He goes, "As long as your hernia, if you push it in, and you can push it in," he goes, "it's not staying, stuck out, prolapsed, or stuck." He goes, "You're okay." And I'm like, "Yeah, but as soon as I relieve the pressure from holding it in, it does pop right back out." And he goes, "Yeah, it's just one of them things. Unless it's kind of prolapsed and stuck, they're not going to do anything about it." And he said, as far as the bleeding and stuff, he goes, I'm going to have to say it could possibly be the side effect from the medication, and it's probably an internal hemorrhoid, and that could also explain the rocking side to side and stuff. And he goes, it's just side effects of the medication, and you probably now have an internal hemorrhoid, which the cream's not going to do you any good, so I'm going to give you a prescription for some hydrocortisone suppositories. And I'm like, oh, great. And he goes, but I would discontinue the use of the Manjaro until you can talk and follow up with your primary care physician. So I'm like, okay. So I did go and get the prescription filled, and I'm kind of leery, guys. I don't know about y'all, but having somebody, or even you yourself, is what I did. Stick something in your butt is not normal. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I will tell y'all, within a day, the bleeding slowed down and the pain lessened by about half. And I'm like, well, maybe it is in my head, and maybe they're right. So I went and saw my primary care physician. I told him everything that transpired, and he said, okay, that's good. He goes, so let's just finish this out. And I said, now, they told me to quit taking it. And he said, well, you don't need to quit taking the medication because it is going to be helpful. I want you to start back. And I kind of told him the 7.5, that he suggested to start doing, it wreaked havoc, and it made everything even worse. And he said, well, how about if we just bump you back down to 5? I said, well, how about we go back to 2.5? And he said, no, we'll go back to the 5. And I'm like, okay. I didn't want to argue, and I'm just like, screw it, who cares? But I would like you, to put me in a referral to see a GI specialist to try to see what's going on. And he was like, okay, well, let's just see what's going on with this first and see what happens. So he gave me the 5, and I started splitting them in half and only taking 2.5. And that way I didn't want to argue, and everything stayed the same. Even though I was taking a lesser dose, my complications were getting worse. The bleeding came back as soon as I ran out of the suppositories, and I went back and I told him, I said, dude, there is something wrong with me. And now we're looking at June, and he goes, okay, well, you saw me earlier in the month and the shot didn't help any going smaller. I said no, and he goes, okay, well, we'll put a referral in. So it's June 20th. He did put a GI referral in, but in the notes it stated that the patient's having constipation issues due to a side effect of a medication and now has hemorrhoids. Well, after a month goes by, nothing, still having the same thing, having more bleeding, more pain. He does a second referral in August, on August 2nd. And we go a little bit longer. I end up calling him up and basically threatened him, and that's when he said okay. So then finally I was told I could go see a physician assistant on October 1st, and same thing. She told me, nope, nothing's wrong with you. It's constipation and everything, which you can see here in the notes. And basically they scheduled a colonoscopy to be done on October 21st. So 2 days before my colonoscopy was going to happen, I ended back up in the emergency room, and I told the doctors the same thing. Felt like a blockage, and this time they took scans and x-rays and came back out and said, nope, you just have nothing there. There's no blockage. It's pretty much in your head. Basically, you have constipation due to side effects of the medication. We're going to give you this to drink. It's going to clear it out and make you poop a bunch. And other than that, you already have the colonoscopy coming up. Just do what you can and don't strain to poop because it'll aggravate your hemorrhoid. So that basically went in on the 21st, had the colonoscopy, and I was woke up and the doctor said, hey, there's no easy way to tell you this, but you have colon rectal cancer. And he goes, I'm so sorry it took so long to get you in and everything. And he goes, I did do a biopsy, and I'll let you know in a couple of days. So 2 days later, he calls me up, and he gave me the name of it. And I'm going to show that to you now, which is this. And that leads us to where I'm pulling in right now, which is Texas Oncology in Waco, Texas. And I'm going to show you a picture of the building name right here. And I'm about to go in, and I'll share with you what comes next. Now guys, before we get into this, I am going to show y'all a few pictures that y'all might find a little graphic, but I was going to show you what your colon basically should be looking like and the mass that was found in mine. And before we get to that, I just wanted y'all to see this is just a little sample sheet of colon rectal cancer symptoms and stuff. And if you notice, it says the rectal bleeding, which I had, the change in bowel habits, which I had, the abdominal discomfort, which I had. I did not have the unexplained weight loss. I did have weakness and/or fatigue, and my blood work was perfect, guys. So I never showed an iron deficiency or anything like that. Nowhere on this does it show anything about having to rock side to side because you feel like you have a blockage, which is something that I had told them several times. So, I mean, guys, you are going to be your best advocate for what your body is telling you no matter what. And I was told by another oncologist that if I did not stay persistent and continue to tell these people what I felt, my cancer probably wouldn't have been found for another year or so. So be your own voice and always speak up for yourself. So here we go. Let me start by explaining, guys, these are all 4 images from my colonoscopy. So this is my insides. We're not using stock photos or anything. So the first 2 are what a normal colon, which everything that they said they found in me, excluding the mass, which the last 2 images will be from 2 different directions. They said they found 2 small polyps up higher in my colon that were minute. They said they were like 0.5 millimeters or something. I mean, super small. He said they went on ahead and lassoed them, got them, and he said they were nothing. He said further down they did find a small internal hemorrhoid and they did find a small external hemorrhoid, but the root of my problem was this mass that you're seeing. And they said it explained 100% of my symptoms. They said with my colon blown up that it blocked more than 50%. So they said without your colon being blown up, it probably, if it had a straight shot, was somewhere between 65% blockage. And depending on how you're setting, it could have been, 100% blockage the most of the time. And that would explain why I had to rock back and forth inside to side to pass gas and poop. When I asked him why the other images did not show this, and I was the emergency room and everybody else kept saying, no, there's no blockage. He just said it depends on the types of scans and imaging, and that basically he understands me being angry and upset. And he goes, but I just want you to know you were 100% spot on in what was causing your pain and discomfort. So now I'm going to go ahead and share with y'all what the next steps were with Texas Oncology, which we started with a CT scan, and they did upper chest and an abdomen. Now, these things I kind of disregarded because they had to postpone my next appointment because we were still waiting on an MRI that we did the following Friday after the CT scans. And I saw the CT scans results in my chart, and then immediately when I started going over it and seeing they had heart blockage and lung spots and all this other stuff, but right down here at the very bottom you're going to see where it's talking about blockage at the appendix and a condition, but the appendix did not appear inflamed or anything like that. Guys, I had an emergency appendectomy in 2023. I don't have an appendix, so I don't even honestly think these CT scans are mine. So for what it's worth, I'm just not even paying no mind to them, and we'll find out later down the road if it is or not. But when I brought it to my doctor's attention, he questioned me twice as to whether or not I did have an appendix, and I'm like, unless some bitch grew back, I don't have one. So up next will be the MRI, and I'll go over it real quick. Now, guys, I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. We had to wait over 2 weeks to get the results of the MRI, and I wasn't very happy about that because they said, hey, go to this hospital instead of this other one. We'll get the results back instead of in a week and a half to 2 weeks in 2 to 3 days. And so I went to the hospital that I didn't want to go to originally, and we ended up waiting over 2 weeks to get the results. And then the results actually were a little different than the results I'm about to show you on a better test. But the information in this area where it has the location of the mass and everything is the main thing to worry about. And further down they mentioned that they did think that there was a little more involvement that might have some of the lymph node stuff there, but we're going to just debunk that here in just a second. Now, guys, this next test was actually put in by the surgeon I went to a couple days before I met my oncologist, and the surgeon pretty much said, yeah, where it's located at, you're going to have a colostomy bag. But then when he kind of violated me and stuck his finger up my butt, he couldn't find the mass. So he put in for a request to have a endoscopy ultrasound done, which from what I understand it does a real good in-depth mapping and pinpoint location of the mass, and it can tell you if it's metastasized, stuff like that. Well, the good news is they squeezed me in, and a cool doctor actually put me in the following Monday after I had my MRI on Friday, and said, "Hey, if you can meet me over there at lunchtime," he was going to do it during his lunch break. He introduced himself, and he said, "I exactly know how you feel. 5 years ago, I had the bomb that I had cancer dropped on me with no warning, pretty much like you." He goes, "You were worried about something for over 8 months, and then all of a sudden, hey, you go from having hemorrhoids and constipation to, colon rectal cancer." And he goes, "So now we're going to find out how bad it is and go from there." So after he woke me up, the first thing he said is the procedure went well, and then he said the mass is actually higher. Originally, they said it was at 5 centimeters from the anal verge is what they call it, and that's where they're saying it's kind of low and it can compromise your sphincter, which is your butthole. And he said actually it's like 6 or 7 centimeters up, so it's good. He says it is into your muscle some, that's why you do have the pain that you're dealing with. He goes, but the good news is it does not involve any lymph node, any lymph gland, or any part of your lymphatic system, nor does it go and involve any other organ. So it is not metastasized at all. So with this information, my doctor paired it with the MRI, and after we talked about the MRI and then this, he said that this endoscopy is a lot better, and he said the doctor that did it is battling cancer himself, and with him saying his recommendation, which was attack this with chemo and radiation to shrink the mass, and then go in and cut what's left out. And he said in his opinion there's plenty there to be sewn back to with no need of an ostomy port for a colostomy bag. So his findings and what he is stating should happen versus what the original surgeon said gave me a lot of relief. But the bad thing is, right after he told me this information is when I actually finally got the information from the CT scan. So I was on a high and all excited, and then I got this, oh my God, your heart's blocked, you got issues with your thyroid, your kidneys, your liver, and all this other stuff. But I'm pretty sure that CT scan stuff is not even mine. So now I'm going to let y'all see what they found and what they're saying my staging is and what the upcoming treatment's going to be. Alright guys, so the first thing that you're going to notice is on the first page of the treatment plan information is that they diagnosed me to have rectal cancer, which is also known as colon rectal cancer. Since mine is in the lower portion, that's why some people will refer to it as rectal. Now, the staging on it came up to be a stage 3B, and they said the reason for the B is because it did go beyond the colon wall into my muscle a little bit. The doctor that did the endoscopic ultrasound, whatever you want to call it, is like, hey dude, it'll be treated the same way regardless, so we're going to call it the T3. He says it has not metastasized anywhere, which is good news, and that's what we're going to look forward to. Now, on the second page, you're going to notice what the first round of treatment's going to be. So the way they said this is all going to work out is I go in this upcoming Wednesday to have a chemo port put in my chest. And we're going to go in, and once a week I have to go to Texas Oncology, and they're going to fill a pump up that's going to be attached to this port, and they're going to actually blow chemo through me 24/7, 7 days a week. And I'll go in each week to have my pump refilled and to do blood work so they can monitor me. And they're going to do this for 5 weeks straight. From other people that I spoke to, some of them are like, oh shit, that sounds pretty heavy. I don't know, never done this. This is my first round with this. In addition to doing the chemo for 5 weeks, the day they start my chemo, they're going to start doing radiation therapy, in which I have to go every Monday through Friday for the same 5-week period to have radiation treatment. And after we finish those 5 weeks, he said basically they're going to reassess, run more scopes and scans and see where we're at, and then we'll decide what comes next. So guys, I'm trying to gear everything forward, and anybody that's paying attention to the Bad Attitude Performance website, you can see here, I have basically been told that next October I will have a spot to participate in the Wild West Dragon Dash. So Ethan and Portia over there are going to allow me to compete in their event. So that keeps me gear minded toward going there. And it is a drag and drive in Texas and in New Mexico. If you don't know anything about it, I'm going to put a picture of their website here and you can go check them out. In addition to that, Fuel Lab Tanner Berg over there told me that once I get moving again and can work on the truck, if there's things I can't do when it comes to mounting the fuel pump and plumbing the fuel system, to let them know, and they'll fly in and they'll come and help. And I pretty much like trying to do as much as I can on my truck, guys, but I'm not going to be too proud to say that my current condition is going to be limiting for a while, and I'd like to get my truck together. So if there's anybody local that would like to offer help in trying to do some of the work and stuff, I mean, just reach out to me and contact me. There's a contact us page on the Bad Attitude Performance website, because I'm not going to be too proud to ask for help. I really want to get the truck done, and I really want to be able to race it, and we'll just have to find out about this cancer, hurdle, what's going to transpire there when it happens. But for right now, I'm going to stay positive and try to meet it head on and do the best that I can. So I know this is a long video. I appreciate all y'all watching, and please hear me when I say, when it comes to talking to doctors, be your advocate. Speak your voice. Be persistent. Do not give up, because if I would have just given up and said, screw it, it's in my head, a year and a half to 2 years from now, if I got diagnosed, instead of being stage 3, I could have been stage 4, and there could be no possible, saving my butt. Literally, so guys, take care of yourself, be safe, and thank y'all for your support, and thanks for watching.